Hello and welcome to our series of business interviews. Today the interview is going to be conducted by Jonathan Slobin, who is a long-time associate of To The Point Marketing.
Today we're with Shanker Patel. Shanker is the founder and chief executive of Lords. In a moment Shanker will explain a little bit more about his journey, but just to paint a picture of where we are, we're in West London here, actually in Acton, sitting in a lovely office, but we're at the back of the most enormous builder's merchant yard. Welcome, Shanker.
Thank you.
So let's kick off straight away, Shanker. Go right back. Where did your business journey start?
It started when I was a teenager, in fact probably earlier than that. Come from a family business background. My father had his own business in pharmaceuticals and pharmaceutical distribution as well as retailing, so a chain of pharmacies. And I remember probably my first working day would have been around the age of about 10, maybe a little bit earlier than that, sitting talking to my father about business whilst he read the newspaper and asking him lots of questions. I think he took that to mean that I was quite keen on providing him with some free, cheap labour, or free labour, not even cheap, it was completely free labour. And I recall he gave us, me and my brother, lots of little tasks to carry out menial things to do, like packaging or something or the other, and that's really when our first journey started, is in and around, like most family business, in and around your parents who at that time are working and working hard or working well, and it's quite often spreads to the. So
that took you through your teens.
That took me. Well, my teens were a little bit more interesting. My father passed away when I was a teenager, so I was 13 when my father passed away, and after that, I decided to take a lot more interest in the business, being a sort of a major beneficiary along with my brother. The business was still a family business in pharmaceuticals, but I'd grown into lots of other activities, from hotels to retailing to manufacturing, and I would spend every weekend working somewhere. So either in our pharmacies, either in our pharmaceutical manufacturing business, or in our pharmaceutical distribution business, or admin in the hotels. So somewhere along the line I would always be working, and that took me right up until university. So I suppose those years between 13 and 17 were quite formative in getting me very much interested in business and commerce.
And what did you learn? I mean, what were your big...
a lot. I learned initially the key learning was just simple pricing. Simple buying something for £1 and selling it for either £1.20 or £1.50 or £2, preferably. You then learn about the complexities, simple things that as a teenager you don't appreciate. Stock, what is the value of stock? How does it get into the stores? What is the process involved? In those days, IT wasn't as prevalent as it is today, but you still had a little bit of that too. And then the key thing was numbers. So as a teenager working in a business, the first question would be, what were the sales? Because understanding that without having the sales, nothing else really existed. It's not possible to pay the wages, not possible to really progress. So sales was and it's an intoxicating measure, because it's a clear measure of success. So if you're working in any business, if the sales were £100 or the next day it's £1,000, there's going to be an immediate uplift in your personal view, in how you look at the business, and in your own excitement.
Excellent.
So those were lots of little things that.
So that took you to university. What did you study?
I studied economics at the London School of Economics, which was another great platform to get even more involved in either business or at that time it was more in finance, because studying economics you're very much geared to macroeconomic finance and commercial matters which don't really affect businesses as such on a day-to-day basis. That was great fun. I always, however, at that time, I still wanted to be a lawyer. So the stepping stone was I liked commerce, so I thought I'll do an economics and commerce, but then I'm going to go and attend law school and qualify as a solicitor. So I graduated in 91 and went straight to law school, and I graduated from law school as a member of the Law Society, i.e. a solicitor. All the time, whilst I was at university and at law school, again I was still working, so I'd probably be working most weekends. Definitely
in the family company?
In the family company, yes.
Yeah.
I remember at school I did do, I think, a year or 2 years of part-time work for Homebase, which is quite apt considering we're now in DIY retailing as well as selling building material. But yes, in the family company. At that time, the family company, in fact, whilst I was at law school, the family company was now in a lot of trouble.
Right.
Partly due to the recession of the early 90s and the late 80s. And we were in a position where the business was insolvent.
Right.
It made me reassess whether I should continue my...
So were you observing this? Were you pulled in to help with the management of the
company? I was pulled in to help with the management of the business. I was very naive, of course, at that time, but my knowledge of finance, certainly from university, and more importantly, my knowledge of law from law school, really helped. However, I was powerless to actually do anything about it. Purely because by the time I got involved, events had taken a hold which I couldn't.
So, what was your big lesson? What did you learn?
So, a lot of lessons. Number one, cash flow and cash flow management. So the key is to understand cash flow. If you can't understand cash flow, you really shouldn't be running a business. I know there are a lot of people who say, well, I don't need to know the numbers, I just need to know my customers, or I need to know my products. I'm very different as a businessman. I know my customers. I know a little bit about my product, but I can certainly get experts who know more about my customers and certainly more about the products. My main job is to manage people and also to manage the finances, or keep an eye on the finances. Nobody has a greater vested interest in the finances than the CEO, the managing director, or the majority shareholder. So big key was understanding cash flow. The other thing was understanding banking and finance. Again, there are a lot of businesses who, along their growth journey, don't really take time to fully understand the complexity of borrowing money, the opportunities also, not just, it's not just a negative, it's also the opportunities of borrowing money, and then, the legal implications when things go wrong.
So you're obviously a very rounded businessman. What was your view back then on marketing strategy?
I think back then in my probably what was quite an extensive vocabulary, I don't think marketing featured, because we were a small business in a lot of trouble. I'd basically taken over one of the divisions where I was working, and the idea, or the issues that we had at that time was just simply containing our debt, trading our way out of our problems. And to me, I had no exposure to marketing. As I said, I studied straight economics, I studied law. I didn't do a business administration and business management degree, where perhaps somebody early on would have alluded me to the power of marketing. So, during that time, the kind of marketing that I knew was a simple, what I call word of mouth marketing, which interestingly now is being digitized by something called Facebook.
Absolutely.
But we used that to great effect. Again, that was a bit of human common sense, I suppose. That if you have 5 people who buy from you or who engage with you, and they have value added in that engagement.
So your product and service must have been remarkable. I mean, worth remarking on, otherwise people don't naturally...
It was our service, yes.
operate
it
word of
was
mouth.
the personal service that
Yes.
was quite remarkable. That brought us the business, which then led to more and more people
Yeah.
contacting us. In terms of marketing, I mean, we really weren't savvy enough to appreciate the power of it and what sort of effect it can have. It was very typical small business attitude or mindset that marketing costs a lot of money and you can't measure the returns, so therefore what's the point of actually doing that. I also think a lot of small businesses have a more trader mentality. You know, you're sort of just constantly looking for the next sale.
Yep.
So yes, the focus on marketing was
So
very low.
that business folded? Is that
No.
no?
So the family business folded.
Right.
But the business that I was working in, basically I took it over. So I bought the business out by saving it from insolvency, and I use my knowledge of the law to be able to negotiate with our creditors. There were some technical issues in terms of the fact that the company was insolvent and we were still trading, but as I said, I understood exactly how one could trade one's way out of it, and that's what we did. So we basically grew our business organically by providing excellent service, hard work, all the sort of traditional owner manager journeys that we all a lot of people go through, and we got to a point where we were out of our issues. We'd traded our way out of our problems, and we were highly solvent and starting to deliver good profits. And that's about the time that we then focused on professionalising our business, which allowed us to grow it. So to put it in perspective, when I first started, we had 2 small stores, and about, I think there were 5 of us working in the business.
Excellent. So where did that lead you to? So what happened?
So from there we expanded into opening a couple of other stores in different product areas.
What's the name of the business?
So it was Lord's right from day one.
Right.
The stores were branded separately. So one was called Lord's Home Care, which was based in Gerrards Cross. The other one was called Lord's Trade and DIY, which was based in Westbourne Grove, London W2.
Okay.
We then created a decorators merchant. We created another home care store, and in around about 2000, we decided to create Lord's Builders Merchants, where we went from the DIY and the sort of high street type offering of products to the more heavy side distributed offering of products. We relocated a business which we had acquired, and we relocated it to our. So from there, over the years since 2000, we've grown substantially with additional stores, additional units in builders merchants, and then lots of other activities from manufacturing to.
So let's just quickly understand. You've just skated over that, but that's phenomenal growth that period from 2000. What was behind that growth? Was it acquisition? Was there marketing? How did you generate the additional trade?
Okay, so in terms of our distribution business, there was, again, very little marketing up until about 2008, which is when we first started really looking at our brand, looking at our marketing proposition, and trying to sort of go beyond just the traditional word of mouth or the personal marketing approach. So most of our business, as I said, was either because we had good locations or because we had great people, and they were the marketing strategy. So it was very much a one-on-one marketing strategy where we'd go out and see people, get to know them, we'd get to know their requirements, and we'd service those requirements very well. They would then be, net promoters or promoters of ours. That then provides you with another client, and so on. So your network grows very quickly.
Your marketing really was word of mouth, but that was fueled by fantastic customer service because of the people. Great locations because they are convenient, so they're obviously close to your customers.
Correct.
And also, isn't it about product availability? Because I've heard people around Lord's actually say that we have products that others run out of.
Yes, we call that as part of our customer service offering, but of course, not only just the range of products that we keep, but also the quantity the availability of the product, thinking it through a bit further. I suppose the greatest marketing tool we had was our ability to deliver in this format, and I'll use the quote: "We'll deliver to you when you want it and where you want it." Whereas, in our industry, traditionally, businesses delivered when they wanted to deliver the item. So our approach was always asking the customer, where do you want it? On the site, especially a building site, it's not an easy place to manoeuvre. Our customers generally like the material very close to where they're working. That's a challenge. A lot of our competitors wouldn't do that. But the key was also, when did you want it? So if somebody asks us, can you deliver? The question wouldn't be just yes. It would be the reply. Sorry, wouldn't be yes. It would be, when would you like it?
And did you sit down and formally scope this out, or is this
some
basically intuitive understanding?
Some of it was
customer
intuitive.
needs?
Some of it was obviously a strategic thought process that went into what are we really offering. We had some good colleagues that joined us along the way from different companies who also brought in ideas and recommendations which we took on board. We weren't, like I said, we weren't as professional as perhaps we would be today in terms of our thinking, in terms of stepping back. But one of the things that I did do, which was invaluable, there was an organisation called Business Link that was quite prevalent in the early 2000s, and they offered a lot of help to small businesses. We had great business advisors who asked us to do a strategic review, to think about things strategically. Again, marketing cropped up, but we never really embarked on a marketing strategy.
So give us a flavour of how big Lords Builders Merchant is today.
We operate from 4 different sites. Two are light side sites in 3 light side sites. 2 in West London, W2, 1 in N9, Edmonton. And then we have 2.5 acre sites, one in Park Royal, which is where we're based, and another one in Hayes. And in terms of independent builders merchants, we would probably be the 4th largest in London.
It's big.
So it's fairly sizable. We measure really our capability through the capacity that we have of distributing material, which is mainly what we do. As I said, it's a lot of it's about delivery. We run 18 to 28 ton trucks, and each truck can carry 15 tons, which are rotated between 3 and 4 times a day. So in terms of material movement, we calculate, I think we distribute around about 1,200 tons of material a day.
Crikey.
That's a lot, as you can see. Why coming into our facility is like being attacked by forklifts.
It is, yes.
But yeah, so it's a busy place. It's a busy business.
So you're now at a crossroads. What does the future hold for Lords Builders Merchant?
So on our building material side, the clear indication of where we should be concentrating is on growing our business and acquiring either other independents who would like to exit. The environment for exit is pretty good. There's some advantages for people who want to retire or want to exit a business, because as purchasers are able to get finance or are more confident to grow their business and acquire somebody else's business. There is also a tremendous opportunity in us enhancing all of our facilities. They're very large facilities. They're by no means at saturation point. So we've just invested over £500,000 in the Park Royal facility, and there'll be another £1 million being invested here in 2016. We've just finished with £1 million investment in our Hayes facility, and there'll be another £750,000 being invested next year. So these are things like new racking, new trade counter stores, enhancing our trade counter journey, the trade counter journey for our customers to come and collect. additional office space so that we can have more salespeople, meeting rooms, etc. There'll be a huge investment in marketing, which I think you'll be pleased to know.
Delighted.
And a lot of our marketing, in fact, is now going to centre on what I define as being strategy, which is what is our value proposition to our customers. So, we want to be able to define a point of differentiation, which we know we've got.
Yes.
And I think most successful businesses have. The question is, are you able to identify what that is? We then want to be able to analyse our customers and see what are the value added propositions that they would like to see. And some of that will come from them if we manage to get the right answers. Some of that will come from us analysing our marketplace. We, in addition, want to be able to enhance our brand as being a very credible alternative to the larger competitors that are in the market.
Yes.
What we want to do is introduce what I call a marketing of culture.
Yeah.
So the idea is that people buy from people just as much as they buy from a business.
Yes.
And it's identifying what are the reasons that people buy from your people.
Yeah.
So that's more in what I would call internal marketing strategies in terms of training, in terms of development, in terms of creating and crafting a culture where our colleagues understand how to
simply
engage with
put, really what it's about is putting customer needs at the heart of your business,
Yes.
and therefore training, finance, product development, store location, it all focuses around better
Correct.
meeting those customer needs than
Correct.
the competition.
So, there's nothing, I think, more powerful than an entire organisation focuses on the customer's need.
Absolutely.
In fact, of late I've been crafting a particular phrase, which I think I overheard in my course at Harvard recently, and it was simply put that out of chaos comes revenue, and out of discipline comes profit.
I like it.
So I've taken that on board. Like I said, I don't know where it's come from, and I think I've part formulated this phrase, but we're looking at it simply that the chaos is the customer's needs, and the more there are needs that you can satisfy, the greater your revenues will be. And
Absolutely.
it's a question of focusing on ensuring we satisfy those needs, whatever they may be, and what they sound. Sometimes they may sound extremely unreasonable. However, that's where the revenue comes from. If you can meet that, you're going to be different to your competitors. You're going to have a competitive advantage to your competitors. The discipline is execution, which is also required. And for us, our journey is now about identifying the chaos so that we can achieve the revenues that we require, and then installing discipline in our execution so that we know we can do that profitably.
Music to our ears, Shanker. This is brilliant stuff. Very quickly, because I'm aware of time,
Sure.
There's another side to your business, isn't there? There is a whole Homewares division. Do you want to quickly outline what the Homewares division is all about, how it came about, and what the challenges are that you face with that?
So Homewares division was, in fact, our original business. When I say our original business, it was the original business of the company where I started working. I mentioned that it had 2 stores when I first joined the business as a part-time employee. One of them was a Lord's Home Care, and the other one was Trade and DIY. The Trade and DIY business centred around selling tools and paint and all sorts of building material, whereas the homeware business was much more like your traditional high street homeware business, which sold housewares, gardening items, etc. We didn't grow that business for many years as the market was dominated by the big sheds such as B&Q, Homebase, etc. But in around the year 2005, we noticed a change in the products that were being sold into that particular market. And we decided that there is a position or an opportunity for the local high street homeware retailer to survive and potentially prosper, as the products have developed far ahead of the actual retailer.
Yes.
And what was happening was that the customers were now moving over to people like John Lewis and some of the department stores that's more towards the mid-level stroke luxury level of retailers, and not going towards the B&Qs and the home bases who had just way too wide a selection of products.
Yes.
So we decided that since we had this capability in-house that we would grow it with the launch of a beautiful store in Holland Park Avenue in London, W11, in the right catchment with the targeting of a specific type of customer group.
Yeah.
That gave us the confidence that there's a large enough market for this particular product group,
yes.
as well as the retailing. What's the best way to explain it? I suppose the retailing change that the customers, requiring, moving away from a traditional store, which was just shelves on walls, to something that was far more aesthetically pleasing, where they would like to spend a bit more time dwelling because the products have moved up in design and price point and functionality.
Yes.
So they're not simple walk in, I'll take that, walk out.
Yep.
It's walk in, talk about the product, understand what it does, sometimes not even look for the product, but be
having great customer service. It's good experience, and this is where the high street will survive.
Correct.
Because actually they do something that the internet can't.
Certainly the internet can't provide you the same level of interpersonal customer service. Internet can't allow you to touch the product. And the clearest selling point on the internet is convenience and price.
Yeah.
However, what we have noticed, because we started with internet retailing in that Homewares division, what we realised that it's not easy to become profitable as a pure e-commerce retailer. You certainly need to have stores, and you certainly need to have a far more complicated business than internet retailing, even though the internet retailing is not a simple business.
Consumers shop across multi-channels depending where they physically are, what their mindset is, and maybe even the time of year and the products they're looking to select. Time of year,
time of day. So what we've realised in growing our retail side is that retail is no longer what I call retail. Retail is actually mostly all retailers are fashion businesses. So the fashion being the fashion of your product, whichever product you're selling. And the other thing that retailers have had to become are tech businesses.
Yes.
I think people really need to start looking at the sheer amount of tech that's going into running a retail business. It's certainly, from our experience running a distribution business and running a retail business, 10 times more technology required in the retail business than there is in our distribution business.
Great. Right, time's marching on. I've got a few more questions that I feel compelled to ask, because I ask all of our entrepreneurs that we speak to these questions. Shanker, where does your energy come from? What drives you?
Several factors. I mean, I think I have probably a natural disposition to only do something if I can do it incredibly well. There's a slight cultural energy, which is, hard work equates reward. So that's sort of a very basic, ingrained approach to how I my work ethic and
from your parents, I presume that must
from my parents. Although my father was very successful, but he was successful in a very different way to me. I don't think he would work in the same way as I do. But yes, I mean, I suppose the underlying energy comes from success being intoxicating, and most people will. Or not most people, but a lot of people equate success to monetary as being monetary success. I think if you're truly an entrepreneur, if you're truly a businessman who wants to create something for the consumer, then your success is in literally ensuring that you have a business that serves your customers' needs and more customers. So the success is the growth of the business, as you can see that you are touching more and more people. And
it's funny, I've heard a number of entrepreneurs, and Richard Branson is the biggest proponent of this, but they say you have the passion and then the money will follow.
Correct.
If you do it the other way around, chase the money without the passion, you might moderately succeed, but you're never going to be super successful or satisfied.
There's another saying that I use internally, and that is that if you look after your customers will look after you.
Yes. Excellent.
So that's it's a reciprocal arrangement.
Very quickly, we've given the listeners the impression that you've had this fantastic, smooth trajectory of growth and the world has been absolutely perfect. We all know that the entrepreneurial journey is a series of advancements and setbacks. What was your biggest setback? And perhaps more importantly, how did you overcome it?
Okay, so one of our biggest setbacks was when we created the builders merchants business. Where we are in this current estate, it consisted of 3 units, and we only occupied one of them. It was a long story as to how we occupied that, but we were outgrowing that space rapidly, and we needed to expand into the second unit, where the tenant of that second unit was willing to let it to us or assign the lease to us. The landlord, however, objected to that, and the problem was further compounded by the fact that on our first unit our lease was expiring, and the landlord had threatened to take possession of the property, so not grant us an extension of the lease, which meant that we potentially needed to relocate our business. And given the fact that when this was happening, which was 2004, we'd established a very good business, and it was extremely successful and profitable. It was a major setback, not knowing whether we had the continuity from this particular location. The cost of relocation would have run into hundreds of thousands. So it was a major sort of 4 to 6 month period of anxiety and stress as to how we would come out of this situation. And interestingly enough, the way we came out of it, which is the way that we've come out of all of our problems, is never to look at a problem as a problem, but to look at it as an opportunity for a solution. The opportunity that we saw was that if he didn't want to extend our lease, was there a solution that we actually bought the building from him?
Yeah.
And so we decided to approach him and say, okay, how about you sell us the building? And he, as usual, when most people make those sort of approaches, the price goes through the roof. But in our case, whilst he was indicating that he wanted just an obscene amount of money, which was not substantiated by anybody or from any professional, I used my legal knowledge and background to just threaten him with some legal action.
Yeah.
What that did was make him reassess his ability to physically kick us out.
Yeah.
And the more he looked into that, the more he realised that by pushing us into a corner, he was limiting his options, because once he had our back to the wall, the only way we could push was forward.
So what was the outcome?
So the outcome was we bought the building. We bought it for a lot less than he originally asked for, and as you can see, we've managed to expand into the whole of the estate, which is huge. And it was probably one of the. There are many setbacks, as we all have in life, but out of all of our setbacks, I think this was one of the ones that were the most profitable. So what I'm saying is that I think most setbacks are actually great opportunities. It's just a question of how you can
framing it and finding it.
Framing it, absolutely.
Fantastic. Right, we're nearly at the end. Shanker, 2 questions for you in one. What is your favourite business book and why? And secondly, as a gesture of thanks, because you have been a fantastic guest on our podcast, we'd like to make a donation to your favourite charity. So what is your favourite charity?
So that's easy. It's Save the Children.
Excellent.
I think they're fantastic, and we've been supporting them for many, many years. So thank you. That I'm sure they'll be delighted with that. In terms of my favourite book, I mentioned. I was going through this, and Jack Welch and the GE Way came to mind. It sort of mirrors the comment I made earlier that discipline leads to profit, and I think that book really indicates how Jack Welch has taken the Six Sigma approach to management to drive super profits through discipline. And I think it's, now that you've mentioned what's my favourite book, I might go and read it again. Remind myself.
We might need to.
Yeah, I think we do. So, Shanker, those are fantastic comments throughout this entire interview. Congratulations on such a successful business.
Ooh, I'm not sure about that. There's still more to come.
It's been a pleasure interviewing you, and thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank